Thank you guys so much for tuning in and joining me for the launch of the podcast. And I'm so excited about this launch. It's been a long time coming, and I'm just so blessed to be able to share my journey, stories with you guys, guests with you guys. But before we jump into what we're going to cover, I just want to tell you who I am. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Greg Tibok, and I am located in New Jersey. I wear a lot of different hats. Some of those are husband, dad, entrepreneur, investor, brokerage owner. I would also throw in there dreamer, business builder, and a couple of other things. So I have a story to tell, and I'm very honored to be able to share it with you, the listener. And before we jump into really what we're going to be discussing on this podcast, I just want to tell you a little bit about my journey and how I got to where I am today. So I would say from a very young age, I had a strong desire to see what life was all about and to see how far that I could push it. So I grew up in what I would consider a very blue collar family. My parents both worked for a pharmaceutical company for many years. I believe my mom even did 40 years in the company, which is wild to think about now. And even though we never wanted for anything, we didn't have to really go without, or there weren't any crazy stories about losing the house or anything of that nature. There was definitely more that we wanted, and there was more we wanted to strive for. And I can remember just at a young age, just realizing the potential of what there was out there if you were willing to go out and work for it. And especially the potential if you took a leap of faith and if you became an entrepreneur. So from the earliest age that was legal in New Jersey to get a job, I believe it was 13, if I'm not mistaken, I got a job right away, literally as soon as I turned 13 or 14, whatever the age was. So I was a busboy. I worked in a UPS store, what was mailbox, etc. at the time. I worked in different restaurants. Once I got a car and I could drive, I delivered pizzas. Then I graduated to delivering newspapers and basically whatever I could do to make money, because I always wanted to be able to have extra money to do whatever I wanted, right? So then fast forward a little further, and I did the whole college route. I actually surprisingly never finished, so I think I still have 3 or 4 courses to finish my bachelor's, but I did get an associate's degree. And that was some of the really pivotal times in my life, because I was working at the same time that I was going to school. And then I stumbled into what would be the beginning of a 10-year career in telecom. So I worked for Verizon Business for the better part of about a decade. And I first started in the call center. And what I learned in the call center is that I did not want to be in the call center. But what I did learn is how to handle rejection, how to handle hitting quotas, how to handle people screaming at you, how to diffuse situations, and really how to level up my skill set, right? So then there was a chance encounter that I had in the call center with a mentor of mine who I actually just was texting back and forth with today. And his name was Mike. And they were starting an outside door-to-door pilot program, and we were going to go door-to-door selling the new product, Business Files, right? So I had the opportunity to take a leap of faith and leave a union position, which a lot of people thought was crazy at the time, right? But looking back, it wasn't crazy at all. It's probably the best thing that I ever did in my career, and it helped to give me the skill set that I needed to be able to do what I do today and everything that's led up to this point. So I took that leap of faith. I went into outside sales. I was killing it. We were winning all kinds of trips and president's clubs. But what happened was we started doing so well that people started to tell us that we were making too much money. So the executives, the higher ups, we were making too much money. And that was something that didn't sit well with me. And I just could not believe that when you outperformed the competition and you put the numbers on the board and you destroyed the quota, that you would just be told that you're making too much or that the comp plan's not going to work. So what started to happen is they would change the comp plan basically every month, right? So I could see that, first of all, I had the natural talent and the ability and the skill set to crush outside direct sales. And I knew that in the right outlet, I would be able to double, quadruple, and just blow up and explode my income. So what happened was, I want to say it was in 2010, I actually got my real estate license. No, I take that back. I did not get my real estate license. I bought my first investment property while I was still working my corporate job. And I did not have a license at the time. And what that did was it gave me the itch for what was possible in real estate. And then I knew that that was the path that I wanted to go on. I just didn't know how I was going to get there. So fast forward a few years later, got married, was beginning to start a family. And in 2017, I ripped the Band-Aid off and I went full time in real estate sales. Now, at the time when I did this, it was extremely terrifying, for lack of a better term, because not only were my wife and I expecting our first child, but we were also in the process of selling a dry cleaning company. So don't ask me how we got there. I'm sure it's going to come up in another podcast. But we actually did buy a dry cleaning business while I was still in my corporate telecom job. And we decided quickly that it was not the right place for us. And we wanted to sell the dry cleaning business, especially with our son on the way. And that was the decision that we made. So the fast forward and how we got here, I eventually got linked up with Keller Williams. That was also one of the best and most pivotal decisions that I ever made, because it created passive income earning opportunities. I got around other people that were playing at a much higher level. And then long story short, built out a real estate team, kept buying investment properties. I continue to build my portfolio today. And here we are. So brokerage owner, flipper, I wouldn't say heavy flipper, but flipper, buy multifamily property, have an awesome family. And I wanted to launch this podcast because I know that what I went through in the beginning of my journey, if I had discovered podcast, I would have been able to really shortcut a lot of the mistakes that I had to go through to get to where I wanted to be. So right now, we are in a very interesting time. We are in a high inflation time. We're in a high interest rate market. We have a crazy shortage in inventory. Many would actually call it an inventory crisis. And we're currently in a time where there's a lot of people leaving the business. But I personally think that for the ones that are really going to tough it out and that are willing to put in the work, this is going to be the best time ever to be in real estate sales, because there's going to be so much opportunity coming. I also believe that this is the best opportunity to be in real estate investing and in that space, because all of the opportunities are about to unload on the market. And I'm so excited to be able to share with the listeners on interviews we're going to have with not only top brokers, but top investors, top multifamily people, and just everybody that's really going on this journey. So I know that a lot of times, especially throughout the last few years, there have been many successful entrepreneurs. There's also been people that have been struggling, right? So I want to talk to the people that have been through the struggle, that have had to juggle their side hustle or their passion while working their day job, juggling family, because I also had to go through that same time. There was a span where I would say I was probably working 70 to 80, sometimes 85 hours a week for at least 2 to 3 years. And that was not an easy time. And what I found is that there's a better way, and a lot of the way begins to show up when you work on your mindset and you work on that self-belief muscle. You work on all the motivational things that you need to learn, and the morning mindset and routines, and how you need to prep your body, prep your mind to get to the next level. So on this podcast, we are going to dive in and dissect all the habits, the mindsets, and especially the routines of real estate phenoms, right? So when I really think about who this podcast is for, I think about someone who may be stuck right now. There's a lot of people that get stuck, and then unfortunately they stay stuck and they never get to where they wanted to go. There's also people that are going to be listening to this podcast and sharing it with others that are not fulfilled. So in my humble opinion, we only have one chance at this thing called life, right? We're not going to live forever, unfortunately. And you better be sure that you need to live this life to your fullest potential. I also want to talk to people that continue to burn both ends of the candle, right? And are in a situation where they're doing the side hustle while they're still doing the full-time job, but they can't even figure out a way to get out of this, right? And to me, I got to the point when I was juggling both where I would wake up in the morning and I didn't even know who I was anymore. So I want to be able to share some tips and strategies on how to really accelerate the transition period when we have these interviews in the podcast. And I also want to talk to people that are really looking to find their power, right? So what I mean by find your power is you know that there's something inside of you, right? I know that I have something inside of me, and it's a calling. And I think that as I'm getting a little bit more experienced, or I'm rounding the corner now to 40 in a few months, and I've done this thing for a decade plus, I'm finding how to tap into that power and how to help to do my best to share it with others. I also want to talk to people that are on a mission to serve others, right? We have only so much limited time, right? And it's not just all about us. It's not all about the travel. It's not all about buying the nice things or just buying another property. We owe it to others to give back, and we owe it to others to serve. And I want to be able to highlight the people that are doing that at a high level. And the other main focus of this podcast is going to be to give you the advantage and the framework on how to rapidly decrease the learning curve in this industry on your journey to building your empire. We're also going to focus on wealth building. That's my passion. I believe that every single person listening to this podcast right now, especially going into these next 10, 15 years, if you are not building multiple streams of income, or at least one other stream of income, you're leaving yourself so susceptible to disruption, or God forbid somebody gets sick, a spouse, a family member, a partner, and you not being in a position to be able to help that person, or you want to travel, or you want to move to another area, you want to move out of the country, right? You need avenues of insulation, and I'm all about diversification to get the insulation. And with that comes time freedom, location freedom, and basically the ability at some point to do whatever the hell you want to do, where you want to do it, with who you want to do it, how you want to do it. So that's going to be a big focus of this. And then the other one is juggling family and business, right? Nobody said this was going to be easy. My wife and I are talking now about having our second child. We're getting a real estate brokerage to launch basically from October until now. You know, it's been a crazy beginning of the year. We're working towards profitability. We have a lot of people joining the company. We have real estate projects going on, and all of that stuff is great and wonderful, but you can't forget about the core, which is your family, and you need to give them as much time as you get. Actually, you need to give them more time than you give your business. So all these things, guys, I know that there's going to be people that want to listen, that want to share, and we want to create an avenue for you to be able to do that. So that's why we've launched this podcast. So I thank you guys so much. If you enjoy what you listen to on the episodes, please like it, please share, please subscribe, and please reach out if there's anything I can do to help. Thank you guys so much, and have a great day.